YouTube, what's going on? My name's Dusty Mac.
I'm Scorpion22.
And welcome back to DFQ Movie Reviews.
The fuck?
Today is our first episode.
Yep.
It's gonna be, it was a good movie, I think. I mean, we all both grew up on it.
X-Men 2000.
The original X-Men.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get into our notes that we wrote about the movie.
Starts off with the Fox logo as any other Fox movie would, but the X is the last letter to fade out, which is a cool detail, you know.
Because X-Men.
Yeah, that's
the X.
That would be why.
All good movies start off with Patrick Stewart, of course.
Mutation. It is the key to our evolution.
Patrick Stewart's mutation narration about misrepresentation of mutant delegation.
First try on that. And apparently evolution is conscious.
But every few hundred millennia, evolution leaps forward.
Gets bored.
I mean, yeah. You got, like, your classic early 2000s title sequence that's just, like, weird and abstract.
It's like where all other comics get their opening.
The soundtrack, though, Michael Kamer, great soundtrack. Every song in this movie, like, perfectly fits the mood and the setting, and it just has, like, really epic orchestral builds. I really enjoy it.
It goes into that X. It fucking like locks.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool. You have to love that.
Yeah.
The next thing we get is actually the clip from the supposed Magneto solo movie that we never got.
Yeah, during the rainiest day of the Holocaust.
Yeah, I know, like
those poor Jewish people just can't get a break.
They're already having a bad day, and it's got to fucking rain.
It's raining on the Nazis.
Yeah, so they have to work in it, you know?
Look on the bright side. Magneto's prison number is 24601.
Yes, 24601.
That's not true. But wouldn't it be awesome if it was?
And I'm Javert.
The one thing I didn't notice this time watching it is during the Holocaust scene, it's like all dark and dreary and shit. But the yellow Stars of David, they really pop out. Remind me of Schindler's List.
Yeah.
Schindler's List. Germans are dicks.
I just, like, in every movie that a German is portrayed, they're usually assholes. Because it's usually about the Holocaust. No offense to Germans. I know you're not all Nazis. But Hollywood seems to think so.
But yeah, that opening was just really fucking dark. Like really somber, like, shit, this is a superhero movie?
Yeah.
That mother is screaming her head off, dude.
X-Men has so much, like, social commentary in it. I mean, it's pretty much just a metaphor for racism. Everyone knows that. This is a movie that, like, even though it's a superhero movie, it feels like it's just a movie. Like, you're not completely like, oh, this is definitely a comic book goofy thing. Like, there's a lot of, like, serious moments and parts where you actually, like, feel super invested to what's going on, like, emotionally at least. One thing I really liked about this movie and the way it's done is, like, character introductions. Like, they introduce characters like Rogue, and I mean, Magneto's pretty major to the plot, and so is Rogue, but they do it so quickly. They're like, mutants exist. That's pretty much all they establish. They don't tell you who they are or anything. And obviously people that read the comic books are going to know.
Yeah, you're going to know.
But people just casually going to see that movie, you'd just be like, oh, there's, you know, mutants. They have powers and stuff. And that's kind of like the whole theme of the movie is like, they're like, mutants are so separated from normal people. Very similar to what's going on with, like, Islam and stuff today. Like, certain people just will not see them as humans, you know?
They're always going to be that side.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like you were saying, like, how they introduce the characters. Like, if you don't know who these characters are, at the very beginning when Magneto is separated from his parents in the concentration camp, he's reaching out. And it, like, twists the gate, you know?
Bends the gate.
And that if you don't know, or if you know very little bit about X-Men, you're gonna be like, oh shit, that's Magneto, you know? Like, that's a cool introduction. And he's a kid, so you don't see who he is, really.
Or Rogue, first thing she does is kiss a boy. Cause she's yeah, just like in True Blood, Sookie's a whore. Like, so, but,
keep your tongue in your pants, Sookie.
Yeah, no kidding. She kisses the boy or whatever, and, like, you see...
Discount Edward Cullen?
Yeah, you see his, like, skin get all fucked up, and, you know, he starts to, like, convulse and sort of have a seizure. You're like, oh, you might pick up that that's Rogue. But the thing is like, they introduce the characters really fast. You learn about who they are more, what their background is, through their actions in the movie. You don't need like a whole 10-minute sequence dedicated to the beginning of their life and like here's their whole childhood, here's their backstory and their morals. It's just straight to the point, and it really helps push the narrative.
You don't need to kill Uncle
It
Ben
makes
every
you
time.
pay attention.
That's what
a
we're
lot
trying to
more.
say.
Yeah.
They get to the part where the senators talking to the Congress about these mutants, that they're weapons in the schools.
I think the American people deserve the right to decide whether they want their children to be in school with mutants, to be taught by mutants.
Senator Kelly is just a dick. Like, the Jean Grey's trying to give her speech and like explain why Senator Kelly should consider them people and be reasonable about it, but he just like constantly interrupts her.
What if they walk into a bank, huh?
And then the whole crowd
stops them?
just starts cheering, like, yeah, fuck her. Like, whatever she's talking about, fuck her. Like,
What's to stop her from walking into a bank vault or into the White House?
it's just kind of stupid. I mean, people are gullible.
You
and,
just be like, fuck, like morals of
He's
any
just a
random
loudmouth,
person
yeah.
has. But then you get introduced to, you actually see Magneto in present day and Professor X.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Magneto looks like the tall man from the Phantasm movies. And they have their little dialogue back and forth.
Don't give up on the married. I've heard these arguments before. Mankind has evolved since then.
Into us.
Well, they're two sides of the same coin. Like, that's why they see eye to eye on a lot of things, is because like they both want to protect mutants and be considered equal to regular people. But the problem being, like, Magneto knows that humans are kind of violent by nature and that things could go wrong. Professor X just has a little more faith in humanity.
He sees the good in them. Obviously, he didn't go through the Holocaust because he's not Jewish.
He's
American.
Trekkian.
Live long and prosper. Snicked, bitch! We fucking have Wolverine finally.
Hugh Jackman's interests include singing and Broadway plays and cage fighting.
And I'm Javert.
Hugh Jackman's first fight was against Russell Crowe in the cage for who could sing better.
It was it was not Russell Crowe.
And I'm
So he's fighting in a cage, like in a bar.
Yeah, Rogue gets dropped off in this like random town, and she goes in and sees this bar that has cage fights, as you do.
Especially
And,
in Canada.
I could believe it. Yeah, so she's watching them fight and stuff.
And this fight, man, like, they only do it in this scene, but like I mentioned it to him when we were watching it, you hear like a baseball bat hitting.
Yeah, like an aluminum bat.
Because he's like all made of metal and shit. Like, it just, you feel the punches.
I was telling him it'd probably get annoying, but then I was thinking it'd be hilarious actually if like every single fight Wolverine's in, you just hear ding, 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 like
Ding, fuck, ding, fuck! Yeah. The part where he's like, he stabs the two claws, you know, and then the middle one starts slowly coming
Yeah,
out.
like I was surprised.
Dude.
The claws and like them coming out of his hand look really good in this movie. Like, we'll get to it eventually, but X-Men Origins Wolverine, they look so shiny and fake. Like,
Very CG.
it's ridiculous.
Well, it's because they're brand new in Origins.
Don't even get me started.
Wolverine leaves because he's a mutant and they're all freaked out, and Rogue hides in his trailer.
Let's
And,
talk about Rogue's plan for a minute, because
Yeah.
she gets dropped off in the middle of nowhere in Canada. We assume she just like ran away from her family once things kind of got bad or whatever.
And she has to go to be dropped off at a city, and he's like, "This is the city." Like,
And,
she had no idea.
Like, she did not know where she was.
I thought you said you were going to take me as far as Laughlin City.
This is Laughlin City.
Then she stows away in his like car. Like, I guess like the point was is she's just trying to keep getting rides, but then she like sees that Logan's a mutant, so she goes with him.
he kicks her out. He's like, "Get out of here!" And he drives away, and then he stops.
Yeah, because he feels bad.
And all the thing is like, for a dude with
What a
adamantium
softie.
bones, what a softie! Yeah, he lets her into the car, and like they're talking about stuff, and it's really good dialogue back and forth.
Yeah, it's so natural. Like, it feels like two people that really are kind of introverted and keep to themselves, but obviously you got to make some sort of small talk, and you feel like it's not Hugh Jackman playing a character talking to Sookie. I don't know her name.
Sookie.
Playing a character, but it feels like Wolverine talking to Rogue. Like,
Anna
literally.
Paquin.
Oh, there you go.
Anna Paquin. Yeah. I always like the question, because I always thought this when I was watching the comics or the cartoons as a kid. Like, she asked, like,
When they come out, does it hurt?
And he's just like, every time. And I was like,
The way he
damn,
says
dude.
it is very fucking
Like he's resigned to
yeah.
it, you know?
Every time.
So they crash. So alright, that was okay. We mentioned the CGI was pretty good on the claws and stuff, but he gets a gash across his head and it heals. It's kind of dated a little.
See, I actually had a different thought about this. Like, I thought his wound looked better than Kylo Ren's in Last Jedi. You know that stupid black line, the burn mark?
Oh, well,
It
that's a
looked like they just-
lightsaber. It instantly cauterizes, right?
Yeah, but I thought the wound just looked better.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so they crash, right? And Wolverine lives in his truck, so he has a gas heater
Homeless.
in his car, and when he crashes, it gets knocked over, and apparently something gets sparked, and then a fire starts in his truck.
Yeah, it just spontaneously combusts.
And
for
Rogue
some
is also
reason.
her belt is fucking stuck. Then fucking it's funny when Sabretooth jumps out. I was just like, Winterfang. I mean Sabretooth.
And they fight. Logan kind of gets his ass beat.
A little
But
bit.
Cyclops and fucking Storm show up. Cyclops, dude, I love his
Cyclops looks really good. That visor, man,
spot on.
that looks fucking awesome.
Cyclops shoots Sabretooth away.
There's a cut in there.
Yeah,
That's really weird. Okay, so Cyclops blasts Sabretooth, and then it cuts to Rogue, with the red flash of Cyclops' beam, but it's after it's already dissipated, and it's 1 second, not even a second. It's so weird and out of place, almost like they just missed it.
Because we had to rewind it so I could see it.
Sabretooth goes back to home base, and Toad gets introduced. Toad is an absolute gem. Man, I wish he was in the other X-Men movies. But,
Yeah, he was one of the highlights of the movie.
he's spray painting, and I was just like,
And what is he spray painting? Like a bell?
a column or something?
I
was
don't-
like, Toad spray paints? Alright, whatever,
He's
that's,
tagging a bell,
that's
isn't he?
fine. He reminds me, his character kind of reminds me of, a Sex Pistols, British invasion type.
Yeah, I can see
He is
that.
British.
What, you supposed to bring someone back with you?
Then Sabretooth walks into Magneto's room. Magneto's standing up like this. He's fucking got his metal chair. And he's just he keep a metal chair just so he can move it, when
course.
people walk in.
I would do that.
Oh yeah. Zoom,
Here,
fucking-
take a seat. I did like, though, Magneto had a Newton's cradle on the desk, but there's no strings attached. It was just the
Yeah.
balls sitting
Oh,
each
yeah,
other.
yeah, yeah.
I thought that was cool. I liked that a lot.
Sabretooth took Wolverine's dog tags. I'll get to why that's interesting in a second. Basically, he just tells them that they didn't get Rogue, who they're after, and
You'll find out
they
why
kind of
later.
fuck off. Wolverine wakes up. He's getting examined by Jean Grey, and he chokes her out because he's all scared. Runs away, goes through the mansion and stuff.
She's shirtless. I was like, man, this is the least ripped Wolverine has ever
he
looked.
he looks little.
Yeah, fucking.
It's
Where's your
funny.
gains, bro? Where's your
Yeah.
gains? Says me.
So he goes through the mansion and stuff, talks to Professor X, and then you see Jubilee and Kitty Pryde.
Bye, Kitty.
Both Kitty Pryde got recasted in the original trilogy. They might still keep the actress that plays Jubilee in the next couple movies, but she's in it for 10 seconds.
And see, this is what I don't get, because Jubilee was in this. However, we'll get to this again. They recast Jubilee. There's another Jubilee
She's in that.
Yeah, so she's.
That takes place in the fucking
60s, or-
60s or
so-
whatever, yeah. Pyro also is in one of the classrooms, and he's a completely different actor than he is in the
Different guy.
X3 he is in.
I think that's the one where he's in.
So
No,
that-
X2, because that's the one.
Oh
where
yeah,
they-
he is in X2, yeah.
Um,
So that was weird.
Yeah.
Because they used him in the next movie. So why? That's the same thing with Kitty Pryde that
Yeah.
bothers me. Is she's in the next couple movies. So
she
why
got bigger
recast her?
actress.
Yeah,
a
but
bigger name.
who's the guy that played Pyro? I don't know who the hell that was.
So he's in the classroom, and then all of a sudden Storm, Cyclops, and then Jean Grey comes in, and Jean Grey walks past Wolverine. He's like,
For me.
checks it, and fucking Cyclops
Cyclops
is like,
For me.
motherfucker.
You bastard. Oh, that was pretty funny. They're showing off all
yeah,
the
yeah,
mutants and stuff, and this one is literally just running across.
He's spitting out water.
It's he has the power of our Lord and
The
Savior.
power of Christ compels you. Iceman in the scene with Pyro, Iceman turns that has a rose out of ice.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fucking smooth, dude.
Good old Bobby. He didn't get recast.
Yeah, he stayed. Luckily, he was a big enough actor.
Cuts back to Senator Kelly. Now, Senator Kelly's just being even more of a general jackass, and like he gets into his helicopter. Toad is flying a helicopter. Now, here's the thing. Later in the movie, you see that Mystique can also fly a helicopter. Who the fuck is paying for their helicopter lessons? When do they have the time?
Can you fly that thing?
Not yet. I need a pilot program for a B-212 helicopter.
Now, my explanation is that Mystique can transform into somebody else. That's how she learned how to become a helicopter pilot. But then did she teach Toad? Because no one would fucking let Toad on a helicopter,
It's
right?
like riding a bike, man. You just hop in and it flies, right?
It's just like... Everybody's a helicopter pilot.
This is what I was telling him earlier, like, because, like, Magneto will get into a helicopter at some point. What are you doing, kid? He'll get into a helicopter and they'll fly away very slowly. But he's, like, he can use magnetism, so why doesn't he lift the helicopter and, like, zoom away faster? Why do you even need a pilot? But yeah, I hate that fucking senator, dude. It's like watching Fox News in an X-Men movie. It's very annoying.
Yeah, it's very similar to that. Any kind of biased.
But luckily,
Fucking Mystique, dude.
Mystique is fucking literally kicking the shit.
Fucking beating them up with their feet, dude.
All I can think of is
Smell it, smell it, smell it. Now take it. That's for you.
fucking love that, dude.
I'd let her do that to me. Speaking of which, Rebecca Romaine as Mystique, look-wise, the prosthetics are so much better than Days of Future Past. I don't care what anyone says. I also think Rebecca Romaine's hotter than Jennifer Lawrence. If you disagree with me, let me know. If you agree with me, I got you. I think she's a better actress in general.
I love me some J-Law, but
I just...
she's better. She's a better Mystique in general.
I keep saying it, but like we'll get to First Class series soon. That whole movie series, they kept giving more and more of like the plot to Mystique, just because Jennifer Lawrence was cast as her. In these movies, she's used just enough.
Yeah,
I think.
she's mysterious. She's like
Mystique.
Yeah. Now this is a question. I wrote this down, and I don't think it has anything to do with the movie. But what is stronger, adamantium or vibranium?
Adamantium is stronger than vibranium. I'm pretty positive.
I just didn't know.
I'm pretty sure adamantium is the strongest metal in the Marvel world.
So why didn't they make Cap's shield out of adamantium? Unless is vibranium in the comics? Do they make that for the movie since they don't have the rights?
I think vibranium's from space. My knowledge on vibranium comes from like those Ultimate Avengers movies, if you remember those animated movies. And from them, they're from like, I think it's the Chitauri. They're like, it's like literally a metal from space. So I don't know. Someone can.
Maybe there's a comic
me out
like
on
Captain
that.
America versus Wolverine. I'm sure there is. Magneto then captures the senator, and from in the
because
helicopter.
like Mystique and Toad were flying it,
And he gets in this machine, and it like does this weird bubble thing, and it envelops him, and it turns
it's
into
like spinning rings that create radiation. It's like the radiation causes normal people to become mutated, but it doesn't have any effect on mutants. But it's also like really unstable, and like whatever happens to Senator Kelly, he gets like the power to become water.
Form of water.
I guess.
But it's unnatural.
He
they
can't
say.
control it, and like more and more of his body keeps turning into water. And he's in this like sewer tunnel, kinda, and he like fits through these sewer bars, and it stretches his face, and he looks like a fucking human fish. Worst CG in the movie, probably by far.
Yeah,
like it just looks goofy.
It's like they tacked it on at the end.
So he gets on the other side of the bars, hanging on a rock, and he's like, Magneto's like,
Where would you go? Who would take you in now that you're one of us?
Sabretooth goes to grab him, and like he kind of turns in the water through his hand, and he fucking only gets his sleeve. And then Sabretooth like just gets up, and he kind of like looks at Magneto like,
holding his arm or whatever.
dude, I'm so sorry. Like, I dropped him. And then Magneto walks out of the thing, and he just, like, shuts the grate.
And of course, Sabretooth goes,
in this movie, I don't mind the actor that they chose to play him, and he looks alright. He looks
he
pretty
looks
good.
too pretty to be Sabretooth.
But he's got, like, kind of just like an adorable face. Like, I don't know. It's like,
oh, he's a pretty kitty.
yeah, he's just like,
He's a pretty
little
kitty.
Sabretooth. Maybe they should have used a little more prosthetics or given him white contacts, like how he had white eyes in
Make him look more beastly.
the animated show.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, they were pretty bad at doing, like, CG muscles in that period of time. Like, Scorpion King comes to mind.
This is a question I had. At this scene, you see Magneto's helmet, which blocks Professor X from being able to read his mind. Why can't Professor X read Wolverine's mind if it's encased in metal, but not Magneto's?
I don't know. That's
Like-
a good question. I guess, like,
Has it been answered in the comics? If so, leave a message.
Magneto's
Comment and we'll
helmet's
figure it out.
special. I know that. Like, it was just...
Made out of
it was-
vibranium.
No, it's specially designed to block out Xavier's powers, though. The First Class movies give an explanation of it, but obviously that's not canon to what happens in these movies.
Yeah, I was
So-
going to say, because he has the helmet back then, but in
but that's
X1,
from,
another timeline, right?
well,
Because
that's,
he has the helmet
yeah.
he just gets the helmet in this movie. Because he's like,
He seems to have found some way to shield himself from it.
You are trying to block me, huh?
but he had it in
Yeah.
the past.
I don't know, they just didn't explain how he got it this time, because, like, obviously, chronologically, these movies came out first, so, like, when they did the First Class series, they kind of, like, oh, here's the explanation to how this happened and this happened. But those movies kind of get jumbled up and wiped. Certain things transfer over, certain things don't. If anyone knows exactly what Magneto's helmet's made out of and how he blocks out Xavier's powers, that'd be cool.
Let us know.
Here's my question. Xavier, Wolverine, Cyclops, Storm, and Jean Grey, I believe, are all in Cerebro, and they're talking like, alright, we need to find out where Magneto is and where he took Senator Kelly and stuff. He's naming off people. He's like, yeah, Magneto's got his whole posse. Mystique, that beast that you fought, Sabretooth.
He's a cute cat.
And he's like, Wolverine's just kind of like,
Sabretooth.
like, he says it like he's never heard Sabretooth before.
Yeah.
What confuses me is Sabretooth took Wolverine's dog tags. So I think that Sabretooth knows who Wolverine is. Possibly. Or maybe he just took him as like a memento, like that's his prize
He's a
for beating him
psycho,
or
and that's what he
whatever.
does.
Does Wolverine not remember who Sabretooth is because like the Weapon X stuff? Or does he literally just, he's never met him in this version of the story?
I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, so Professor X can't find Magneto. Why doesn't he look for Senator Kelly? Or Sabretooth? He knows who Sabretooth is.
Yeah.
Or anyone else. It's like Magneto's whole compound surrounded in this metal that...
That's where he got the metal
Xavier
from.
can't crack.
Oh, okay. We just fixed the error of the movie. Then we have a scene where Logan is having nightmares like of his past, being in the Weapon X program.
Way better done in these movies. It's freaky.
Yeah, it's very unnerving.
Disturbing.
Because it's all like really close-up shots of like his arm and leg and shit.
When
and
he's drowning, like in the sleep tank thing that they have him in, like he looks like he's drowning. Like it's just kind of shocking.
And he's making a bunch of noise, so Rogue wakes up and she comes down to him and she's like,
Logan, wake up.
fucking Logan wakes up, schnicked right through the fucking chest, dude.
Yeah.
You're like, and you see the claws like out the back of her, because for
Yeah.
some reason she's wearing a sexy like dressing gown. Why is she the only one with a sexy dressing gown? Because I saw like all the other kids in the back. I'm like, they don't have skin exposed and shit.
I don't know. Rogue's a slut. We kind of established that, didn't we?
It's been previously established.
She gets stabbed, but luckily she has the forward thinking to touch Logan's face, and she absorbs his healing factor.
And Logan, like the look on his face when he realizes what he did is like fucking great acting, dude. It was just he just like looks.
He's
so...
like, yeah, because he's like, there's no music, and he's just like,
Help me! Somebody help!
like yells it so loud.
Because at first he's like, I'll fucking kill you. Then it dawns on him what he does.
Yeah.
So then now we get a scene where Iceman comes up to Rogue and he's like,
Listen, the students are freaked. Professor Xavier is furious. I don't know what he'll do with you.
and then like she gets all upset and leaves, and Iceman kind of looks at the camera and his eyes flash yellow, and all I could think was, Oh shit.
Definitely kind of an homage.
So then they all try to find Rogue.
Yeah, she leaves. They go try to find her. Cyclops finds out that his motorcycle got stolen.
Where's my motorcycle?
Logan finds her on a bus and pretty much is just kind of like,
Hey kid, sorry about last night. And ironically, that's what he says to all the ladies.
yeah. Fucking, he stabs every girl he sees at night.
I was in you.
He was just kind of like talks to her, tells her like,
Sorry,
look,
so
Professor
letterbox.
X is someone to trust, you know? Like, he's got the right ideas and he can help you out. Not a lot of people help people like us. Magneto shows up on that bus and fucks shit up. Grabs Logan and he's like,
That remarkable metal doesn't run through your entire body, does it?
You see this look on Logan's face like, no. Yeah, damn it!
he bends his claws.
Yeah, oh.
Every time that fucking happens,
You
oh.
feel it. I don't have claws, obviously, but goddamn, that hurt.
No?
No? You have claws?
Yeah, they don't like to come out on camera.
Then he gets like thrown through the train,
Yeah.
and like when his arms hit, they like dent the sides.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I didn't see that before, and I was like, damn, that's some force.
Yeah, oh, dude, also the way that Magneto gets onto that bus, he doesn't just, like, bust open the door or anything. He literally, like, twists the two sides of it and curls them up. Like, he rips it in fucking
Yeah,
half.
just like
It's
doing
like,
this,
it's crazy.
but with
Like,
his powers.
I'm surprised at how many of those effects hold up.
But then we get the fight scene, which is fucking awesome. Toad fucking like licks Cyclops' face to grab his fucking thing off. I was like, that's gross, dude. Like personal space.
Toad's just nasty. Cyclops is blowing a hole in the fucking roof. Meanwhile, Sabretooth has Storm like in a chokehold, but Cyclops blew a fucking hole in the roof, and like you slowly see Halle Berry's eyes turn white.
Yeah.
And then just a big ass bolt of lightning comes down and fucks up Sabretooth. It's just awesome.
They end up getting Rogue, and they're about to ready to escape, but all these cops show up, a bunch of fucking cars and shit. They're all pointing guns, and Magneto like
He lifts up his hand because they're like, "Put up your hands." So he lifts his hands, grabs two cop cars, and just slams them back down. And thank fucking God they didn't explode. Now, I was gonna tell you that when we were watching that, but I was just
not
like,
a Michael Bay
I was like,
movie,
they're
man.
gonna blow up. Those cars are gonna blow up. Nope, they just crushed like how they should.
And
I
then,
was
like,
happy.
they take these guns away from all the cops, and they reverse them, so they're pointing... He's pointing every gun at every cop.
You homos and your guns.
Professor X, like, possesses Sabretooth.
And he fucking, like,
Toad.
grabs him by the neck
Yeah.
and shit.
And he's like,
That's enough, Eric.
Magneto fires off one of the guns, but he stops the bullet, and it's, like, literally, like, entering the dude's forehead.
Yeah, it's like, you can see it spinning.
And he's like,
Gotta press your luck, Charles. I don't think I can stop them all.
Xavier lets him go, and then Magneto, in turn, doesn't kill the pedestrians.
So then they end up going back to the X Mansion, and Professor X goes back into Cerebro to try to find...
That's right. Earlier, Mystique, as Bobby Drake, had broken into the X Mansion. She gets down to where Cerebro is, and like she fucking like crouches on the ground and turns into Professor X just because he's in a wheelchair. And I was like, that's kind of in bad taste, isn't it?
Like, why isn't there two, like, eye scanners?
That's mean. She, like, literally injects something into Cerebro's, like, mainframe, and I'm talking, like, a liquid. Like, she injects a liquid into Cerebro, like...
Don't know
I
what
was
it
under
does.
the impression that Cerebro was a computer and, like, a machine, but she puts this liquid in it, and it acts,
give you that
it acts
impression,
like
'cause
a
it's a machine?
virus. Senator Kelly makes it after he falls off that giant cliff. Gets to shore, goes to the X Mansion because he knows like regular doctors aren't going to be able to treat him or won't.
And he says, like,
I was afraid if I went to hospital, they would treat you like a mutant.
Yeah, that's a good line.
and, oh yeah, it's such
He's
a
down
good
on the
dialogue.
table, and that's when Professor X reads his mind. He figures out what Magneto's
Yes,
machine
yes.
is and shit.
My mind to your mind.
And then he stands up, faking.
Yeah, he stands up. And you're like, Patrick Stewart, you son of a bitch.
Using the wheelchair ramp.
But
Use
Senator,
the stairs, goddammit.
Senator Kelly gets worse and worse. Eventually, Storm's there with him. And he grabs her hand. He's like,
You hate normal people.
she's like,
I suppose I'm afraid of them.
He's like, well, there's gonna be one less normal person for you to be afraid of. And he turns into fucking water, like, completely.
Like water
And then
balloons.
that CG is pretty bad, too. But he makes, like, this gargling sound, like... That's kind of fucked up, yeah. Like,
His whole, like he's drowning, yeah.
His lungs fill up with water. And he turns into water.
There's like a NATO meeting, a UN meeting, and they're going to use
the
this...
Statue of Liberty.
And they're going to use this machine to turn everybody in New
All
York...
the world leaders, basically.
Yeah, into
They're all
mutants. Or kill them, because it kills them.
Oh, yeah. The X-Men have, like, this thing...
Well, they're setting up their
It's like a
plan.
three-dimensional Etch-a-Sketch. Literally, it's like all these gray blocks, and he's like, now if you look over here, you'll see the Statue of Liberty is right here. And it fucking, like, forms up or whatever. He's like, we are going to go through the entranceway. Yeah. And all I could think of was, like, those weird, literally the same exact thing in Batman vs. Superman, like, 20 years later or whatever.
Yeah, the Krypton technology of just, like...
Yeah, it's like...
gray Etch-a-Sketch face.
Yeah.
So anyway, now they're in the final confrontation, and they're in, like, I don't know, is it the Museum of the Statue of Liberty?
I'm guessing it's, like, the gift shop at the museum or whatever.
Toad fucking, like, drops on the security guard. Fucking Super Mario's that guy. And then he just jumps off. I'm like,
Dude,
God damn
Toad,
it,
that whole fight, Toad is just like, he hits Cyclops through a fucking wall or something. Then he grabs Storm with his tongue. Then he just like looks at Jean Grey because she's got him like suspended and just hawks up a fucking phlegm at her. That's pretty fucking weird.
Just like,
yeah, it's like, it's just so gross.
gets in her eye and everything.
And Toad like goes up to the second floor where Storm is, and like there's this elevator shaft that's like being held open by a steel bar. He kicks her down it and just grabs the steel bar and just like spins it. He's just like poses. Like he was having so much fun.
Like he just, he owns that role, like you said. It's just fucking brilliant. There's a line.
Because there is no land of tolerance. There is no peace. Not here, nor anywhere else.
All I can think of is like, dude, it's 2018. We still have that dream today.
Yeah.
It's like, this movie came out in 2002. That's 16 years ago, man. It was still in the same shit that we're in back then. It's just, the movie, it holds up, you know, as far as social commentary.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it does a great job. X-Men always does. Even the worst ones are solid, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna find something entertaining about it. You got the famous Halle Berry, what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning?
Halle Berry, what does happen to a toad that's struck by lightning?
The same thing that happens to everything else.
You got Toad, he's just like, that's what you're gonna kill me with? No! Give me something better! Falls into the water.
Rest in peace, my sweet toad. That's what I wrote down for Toad.
Sweet Toad.
You get the X-Jet, of course, which is fucking awesome. It looks great in this. And they had those really cool PC gaming chairs, you know,
Yeah.
for the things. And Cyclops like makes a joke because Wolverine's like, "Do you guys go out in public in these black uniforms?" It's like,
What would you prefer? Yellow spandex?
I was like, "Fuck yes! That's what I want! Give me yellow spandex!"
They don't want to be noticed, so he's like, Storm, give me some cover. Storm creates like this giant fog around
Out of
him.
nowhere.
And Magneto just like looks and he's like,
We're not alone.
Another Storm. Wolverine walks through the metal detectors and they go off, so he fucking like stabs it. And Cyclops looks at him and fucking Wolverine just like flicks him off.
Cyclops like he's like, alright.
The one thing, it's a gripe, but it's a product of its time, is a lot of these action sequences are very wire heavy. What? Wire
Heavy. Heavy.
Face off.
Yeah, wire work heavy. Like you could really tell they're being pulled and dragged.
Yeah, they
and
do like a lot of flippy shit.
it's not very fluid.
It's fine. It works.
But it's very 2000s-y.
So Magneto, Wolverine, Storm,
Jean Grey
are all in the Statue of Liberty. Magneto pretty much does the same thing he did to Wolverine before.
I can't move.
Fucks him up. Ties up everybody. Takes off Cyclops' visor while he's facing Jean
Yeah, they're
Grey.
like face to face.
He's like,
You better close your eyes.
Why?
That's pretty cool.
Kills her. And fucking Wolverine though, he puts his clouds in like that. When I was a kid and I saw that, I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Like that's damn.
Magneto goes up top with Rogue. and tries to start his machine or whatever. Oh, fuck. I forgot about the Mystique fight scene. Wolverine and Mystique fight. But Mystique is disguised as Wolverine, right? But she has Wolverine claws. And I was like, how the fuck does that work? Wolverine slices through her claws and she screams. So you know what I was thinking? If Mystique can transform her physical body, obviously she can change her cellular structure, right?
Yeah.
Maybe she, like, those were her bones. And they were disguised as Wolverine's claws, you know?
He just fucking tore through those bones.
I was like, damn.
Because the shriek she lets out is fucking curdling, man.
Yeah, that fight scene's awesome. Mystique's like a fucking acrobat and just kicks the shit out of
And seeing Logan doing all the Mystique's kind of like kicks and shit with the wire.
like licking her lips and shit.
Yeah, it's
that's
weird.
funny.
Wolverine stabs himself. Fucking bamf, dude. That's a badass call right there. Like,
Gets out of his restraints and starts to fight Sabretooth on top of the Statue of Liberty. There's one point when Sabretooth throws Wolverine and he stabs into like
Ground
like
spokes.
thing, and he like cuts through one side and rolls around. Like somehow he swings around the whole thing and ends back up on top. I was like, okay, first of all, it's adamantium. You've seen it go through other metals and like walls and shit.
Yeah.
Like it's paper. So how the fuck did it like hold him long enough for him to swing? That just
the French gave us an adamantium Statue of Liberty.
That wasn't whatever that was
No.
not physics.
It looked cool when he landed.
Yeah.
That he pulled that off. He stuck the landing, but the whole execution of the flip. I'm sure in 2002 it looked like it did.
How did Sabretooth get knocked into that boat? Was it Storm or was it Cyclops?
Yeah, it was Cyclops because Jean Grey put the visor up.
Yeah, she holds it at like an angle so it actually like
It catches the laser and redirects it towards.
That was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Takes Sabretooth out. Now, like, it's never mentioned that Sabretooth has the healing factor, but he does. So I'm assuming that he could have survived that.
He gets recast.
But he's not in either of the other movies, so.
Oh, he's not in 2 or 3?
Mm-mm. So maybe he died. I don't know.
He becomes Liv Schreiber is what we're trying to say.
So, okay, Magneto's got Rogue. Somebody help me! His whole plan is that he doesn't want to die putting himself in this machine, because apparently it takes a lot out of the user.
It almost killed him when he used it on the Senator.
So what he's going to do is he's going to give his powers to Rogue.
What a
the
guy.
Shit
What a guy.
whenever she gets people's powers. So he basically grabs her face, her hands instantly magnetize that machine, and they start going. So Wolverine's like down with Storm and Cyclops and Jean Grey, and they're like, alright, how are we gonna stop her? Wolverine's like, Cyclops, why don't you just shoot him? Cyclops is like, I can't. Like,
I'll kill her.
Kill her. The brilliant plan is like, alright, Storm's gonna like use wind to like throw me up there, and Jean Grey's gonna like steer me while I'm fucking flying. And then just in case,
if I don't make it, then at least you can still blast the damn thing.
shoot her anyway.
I'll kill her.
And it almost doesn't work because he's like barely holding
He's just
on.
like, shit, no,
And as the machine's like burning up and shit, like Rogue's screaming, and you see the strip of her hair like turn white.
Yeah, that's how she gets
I
the
was
white
like,
strip.
hell
I
yeah,
forgot
that's
about
cool.
that. Magneto still has some of his juice left. Wolverine goes to go disable the fucking machine. Magneto's stopping him. He's holding him. He bends his claws again.
Like they're bending
Like,
outwards.
literally, like, bowed
And
him out.
it hurts. Why does that hurt? It's like
Yeah,
it's like seeing someone get kicked in the
It's
balls.
nasty, dude. It reminds me of a bone breaking, and like I hate saying that because Wolverine's claws are not made out of bone, contrary to X-Men fucking Origins.
X-Men Origins. So yeah, they're fucking fighting or whatever. He's trying to save her, and Cyclops is like,
I have a shot.
It hits Magneto straight in the
Perfect
back.
shot, yeah.
So Cyclops, 10 out of 10.
"Good job, Cyclops.
Fucking
Nothing bad will ever happen to you."
Wolverine breaks the machine, stops everything, they save the day.
But Rogue is kind of dead.
Yeah, that's right.
And so Wolverine's like holding her and shit, crying, and all of a sudden you start seeing those veins.
Yes.
No, this is
They turn into gashes.
yeah. Why does it reverse his healing? And what was those wounds from?
Maybe like they weren't all the way put together, it just kind of healed on the surface and it was still trying to bring the
Yeah,
muscle back together.
I see that.
I don't know. It was kind of weird, but
I mean, it looked cool as you see the wounds started to come up. And then you get a shot of Magneto and Professor X playing some chess in a plastic cell, which he's so fucking cheating. You know Professor X is cheating.
like I thought so too when I was a kid. My dad, I give credit to him for telling me this. Apparently, whenever Professor X plays chess with Magneto, he doesn't read his mind. So
Of course I'm
it's
not
like,
reading your mind.
So it's a fair game.
Of course not.
I don't think that Magneto's ever beaten Professor X, though. So it's kind of like, is he cheating?
Yeah,
Like,
he's so fucking cheap. So that was the original X-Men. What do you think? Does it hold up for you?
yeah, I love it.
Yep, I agree.
9 out of 10, honestly. That's one of my favorite superhero movies and series of all time. And I can't wait to review the other ones because, like I said, like, it doesn't really feel too much like a superhero movie. Obviously it does, and if you're a fan of the comics, it's totally serviceable. It's just got the right balance of action and character development and stuff. When characters are together, I don't want to take away from any modern Marvel movies or anything, but just to draw an example, like Ragnarok or Infinity War, I won't spoil anything, but just like, they're very humorous movies. When people are quipping off of each other, it's like joke, 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 joke. And obviously with someone like Tony Stark and Star-Lord, it makes sense. They're both kind of arrogant, and they like piss each other off.
Yeah.
But like, it's all funny whenever characters are talking to each other.
You don't
that
feel
moment
gravity.
with Wolverine and Rogue in the car is one of my favorite scenes I've seen in a fucking superhero movie. It's so natural. It's crazy.
Yeah, I completely agree. As much as I love the MCU, the levity of the situation, it's always like,
It's
oh my god.
lessened when people
Yeah.
joke about it.
It's like, we're gonna die, or
And like
whatever, and all
some
of a sudden,
people,
like, hey,
some
joke,
people
joke, joke.
joke about shit when things are going wrong. But like when it's like all of your characters, you know,
And it's not a bad thing. It fits the tone of the movies, and
that's
works.
how. But that's kind of like how all of them are. The best ones in the MCU
They're very cookie cutter
are
anymore.
very funny.
Yeah.
You know, they're entertaining, like fun movies, and you don't take them too seriously. With some very minor exceptions. Movies like this, when they get emotional and stuff, like you're like, damn, like this honestly is a lot more solid than I remember it.
Yeah, I agree, because I liked this movie as a kid, but I always thought it was, I don't know, it wasn't superhero-y enough for me. But now watching it is better. So, yeah, I highly recommend this.
It's great. If you haven't seen it, check it out. If you haven't watched it in a few years, watch it again. It's awesome.
It's a good watch. So, thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll see you next time. I'm Dusty Mac.
Scorpion 22.
And this is DFQ.